Today, we're joined by Tobias Reinecker, Head of Development, Investment and Portfolio Growth at Choice Hotels International, a global hospitality brand with over 7,000 properties across more than 40 countries. Tobias brings deep expertise in hotel development and portfolio strategy, having played a central role in driving the company's international growth across key emerging markets. Obviously, one of those key emerging markets is Kenya. There's some really exciting news there for Choice Hotels in Kenya, Tobias. So what inspired Choice Hotels to formally enter the African market now? And how does this align with your broader global growth strategy?
Well, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here and talk to you about our international growth and specifically what we do in Africa. To answer your question, Africa has always been a white spot on a map for Choice. We haven't had any market presence there, and that was rather unfortunate. But we wanted to take the time to make sure that we enter in the right time and, more importantly, with the right partner. And we believe now is the right time, and we found the right partner. And how does it fit with our global growth strategy? As our global CEO, Pat Pacious, mentioned, I believe in the last 2 quarterly earnings, international growth has been the engine of growth overall for Choice Hotels International. We grew our international portfolio 13% year on year to over or close to 160,000 rooms outside of the US. So that's a massive jump for us. So we place a big emphasis on growing on an international market. And we have shown that with going into new markets. We recently entered Poland, we entered Argentina, and now we've signed our first agreement with a partner in Africa, starting in Kenya. And it fits perfectly into our international growth. We're looking at opportunities where there's demand growth, where we see brand underrepresentation and opportunities for us to fit in.
So from a development perspective, what in unique opportunities does Africa present, compared to other emerging markets you're expanding into?
I think my personal opinion is that Africa is very undervalued and misunderstood. Obviously, Africa represents 52 countries with a wide variety of potential and security issues or safety issues, but also growth opportunities. So that's probably what scares a lot of people in approaching and taking that first leap into the market. As mentioned before, for us, it was very important to find the right partner that can give us the trust and the confidence into entering that market, and who can also bring a certain amount of market knowledge already to the table. For us, entering Africa was always interesting because of the growing middle class, the rise of the disposable income, the economic growth, and more countries are becoming a lot more stable. And obviously, we're also looking at what's the competition doing and who is going into which places. It doesn't necessarily mean that we follow everybody, but obviously a lot of our major competitors have been or are very interested in expanding in Africa, and so are we. And we do see that a lot of markets still are underrepresented from a branded hotel perspective, especially when it comes to the mid-market, which is the traditional home ground of Choice Hotels.
So Tobias, given what you just said around Africa and its vast potential, but also some trepidation for first-time market entrants, why did you choose Kenya as your first footprint in Africa?
As I mentioned before, we wanted to find the right partner, and it just so happened that this partner that we have now found, the Shroff family, who own LMR Hospitality, who are an existing franchisee of ours in the US, so we have an established relationship with them. They have deep roots in Kenya, and they have existing properties in Kenya. And that's why we decided to, a little bit by coincidence as well, to start with Kenya. Obviously, we always had certain markets like South Africa, Kenya, also potentially Morocco or some of the Northern African markets on our radar as potential entry points into the market. Each of those markets has certain pros and cons. And then it just happened that, Kenya was the one that came to fruition first. As I mentioned, LMR Hospitality, we have an established relationship with them in the US. They the family, the Shroff family, they originally hail from India. They moved there very early on, and the son Aniket Shroff, who's currently heading the company, he grew up for, I believe, more than 15 years in Kenya. So he has a deep connection to the country. That's his childhood home. Um, that's where their home was for a long time. And they started building their empire, their main business is in the IT business. They started building it in Kenya. So it's where their home ground is, where they know the market the best. And that aligns very well with us, as we wanted to have a partner that can bring deep market knowledge to us and help us navigate the challenges of the market.
So some big expansion plans, hopefully across the continent. Can you walk us through your developmental approach? Will Choice be pursuing franchise agreements, management contracts, or a mix of both for Africa?
As you know, Choice Hotels is a pure franchise hotel group. So we don't own our real estate and we don't operate operate our own hotels. So from our side, we will be focusing on franchise agreements. Now, together with LMR Hospitality, who is our preferred operating partner for now in Africa, they are pursuing both acquisitions or new build opportunities with their own capital, but also management agreements. They obviously they operate 3 hotels already. They are just taking on a 4th one in the Rwanda's capital, Kigali. So we will be signing that one very soon as well. So they have an established management team already, and Aniket is looking to build out his operational expertise to fuel their growth and provide services with an international brand to local owners who maybe struggle, who are looking for growth, who are looking for maybe to retire or get out of the business a little bit, take a back seat. So we have multiple different avenues on how we're going to develop across the continent.
So you have quite an aggressive plan for Africa. I think you're looking at reaching 100 hotels by 2035. Now, what's encouraging about what you've just told me about with the Shroff family and LMR hotels is uh, a key element of partnering uh, with people with deep local knowledge that have some experience and that can obviously navigate the African hospitality environment with backed up by partners like yourselves. What I wanted to ask you is, in terms of that expanded growth, how are you identifying and engaging with local partners, investors, and developers to ensure sustainable growth in the region? I know you've touched upon some of the key elements that attracted you to LMR partnership. I'm assuming they're going to be your dedicated partner of choice going across the continent, or are you looking at expanding that partnership with other entities?
It will be both. Obviously, LMR has a certain preferential position at this point in time with us, and we're looking to fuel their growth as well by helping them build up a development pipeline, which they have already done in the last 6 months since we started talking. It was actually quite interesting to see that their main business is IT. They focused a little bit more on their hotels in the US, and they kind of just wanted the brand for their Kenyan properties. When we started talking to them and it started to explore the potential for those properties in the markets, the family got extremely excited and they put all of their emphasis. Manoj Shroff, the father, he was ready to retire. He's so excited. He says, "I'm going to work another 5 years." And that's where this 100 hotels came from. It's from initially just trying to find a better solution for the 3 hotels. It developed into, let's do 1 hotel in the 17 countries that we operate with our other businesses across Africa, into there's so much opportunity that we've not seen until we started exploring it. We can do so much more. And when they then started exploring both owning and building their own hotels, but also providing those management services. That's really when that 100 hotels came about. So what we are starting with them now is, and FHS Africa is the first step into that, is building a network of stakeholders that can fuel their growth. And that means advisors, that means real estate brokers, that means government officials, that means investors, real estate developers, construction companies, anybody who can bring or has an interest or a connection to hotels that we can either manage through LMR or franchise. And we obviously have this knowledge I have this knowledge from the European market on how to build the network and how the the industry works and how that process works. So we're gonna help them, help Aniket and his family to replicate that across Africa. And we have identified a number of target countries that we want to prioritize, and that's a mix between opportunities, but also where Aniket sees the greatest opportunities from his perspective. The good thing is that he has operations in 17 countries. So he's familiar with the markets. He already knows a lot of people, maybe not associated with the hotel business, but he has an established business network in those countries. And he has people that know how to navigate, for example, the regulatory elements, the real estate elements, etc. And his hotel team is very knowledgeable across the market. They have worked in different countries, so they have their own network. So we try to bring all of that together to build a joint network of stakeholders that we can leverage on.
That makes perfect sense. Finding a partner that has it's a really great footprint across the continent, but that also understands so many of the various elements that go into running a successful hospitality operation on the continent. What I wanted to ask you in terms of this planned expansion across Africa, how are you going to be tailoring your brand portfolio in any way from upscale to mid-scale and economy segments? Which segment are you looking to target?
So Choice Hotels has always played in the mid-scale to upscale market. That's our core business. In the US, we have a bit of a broader one going into the budget and a bit more into the upper upscale segment as well, especially with the acquisition of the Radisson brands in the Americas. For Africa, we're going to leverage our existing brand portfolio that we have available in EMEA, which is 4 brands, which is Comfort, Quality, Clarion, and our Ascend Collection brand. That provides us with a very good base of 3-star select service, 4-star full service, and a collection brand that can play in both the 4 and 5-star category. So very distinct brands. They don't overlap. It doesn't make it complicated. And these brands, they speak very well to what is possible in Africa. And given the fact that we have our brands in EMEA already quite flexible from a brand standard perspective, especially if you compare to how we have them in the US. In Europe, we are more about focusing on the design language and minimum quality criteria rather than providing a very prescriptive, fixed and rigid regulations around how a hotel should be built. We are working with LMR now to see which of these quality criteria or minimum like building standards, for example, need to be adapted to Africa. There are certain considerations that we need to do. That's to do with, for example, power outages. They can still happen across certain countries in Africa. So do we need to make it mandatory to have an emergency generator in there? So we're looking through some of these considerations that we would never have had to think about when in Europe. So it's an exciting journey for us as well. It's we are learning as well. But the Schroff family is also learning how to basically start building a franchisable platform in Africa.
So you talked briefly about sustainability, some of the issues around power, etc. I know LMR is operating in the luxury lodge space. Are you planning to bring a a new offering for that? What are your plans, and how does Choice Hotels brand fit into that lodge offering?
It the lodge which they have in the Masai Mara, it's a beautiful property. It's in the tribe area. It's overlooking. It's on a hillside. Individual tents. It's a beautiful property. I was there. It's going to be fully refurbished, as will all of the other properties that he has. It will be branded under our Ascend collection, so it fits perfectly into that unique identity, upper upscale lodging that Ascend collection stands for. If you look at our Ascend collection portfolio that we have across the world, you will find everything from modern ski resorts to Japanese themed spas, marina hotels, small little boutique hotels in Venice, everything. I mean, the Ascend collection portfolio is fantastic. I love it. Um, in terms of the sustainability part, obviously, we place a very big element, especially when it comes to the Ascend collection on sustainability, but also community engagement. All of our brands have 3 hallmarks that can be a mix between design elements, facilities, or a guest experience. Ascend places a very big emphasis on community engagement. He already does that in the Masai Mara property. He employs the Masai as in the hotel as both security guards, guest entertainment, and provides local jobs with them. But more importantly, he also includes them in the guest experience by bringing their culture to them. So they do special activities around the campfire in the evening, for example, where the Masai share their songs, their stories, how they live. And to me, when I was there, that was really enriching experience, and that's exactly what we try to do. So that's more from a community engagement aspect. From a sustainability aspect, obviously, in the Maasai is I call it the world heritage in that sense. It's a very important element of our global ecosystem. So we need to protect that. So we're working with him to make sure that he builds in sustainability features like solar panels, solar water heaters. He reduces the construction elements to natural products and supplies. He engages with local construction builders that where we don't need to bring in things from far away. And we try to build, or he's trying to build a local herb garden or vegetable garden to provide food for the kitchen. So there's lots of different elements that we try to bring with him and that we explore with him to really drive sustainability in that.
I think Tobias, I think we that's perfect. I love the way you've segued through most of the discussion and the questions, and I think you've covered everything. Is there anything that you think we haven't covered before I get to the final wrap up question?
No, I think I've covered. I like the questions that we had. It's really like it covers the whole like storyline through. So I think it's quite good. I think the yeah, we can just go to the last question.
I think we'll start Jerry again, and I'm just ask you the last question. So looking ahead to your ambition of reaching 100 hotels by 2035, what does success look like? And how do you see Africa shaping the future of Choice Hotels International?
Well, obviously, our aim is to get the 100 hotels, and we will measure ourselves against that ambition. Is that a hard target? Yes, to some degree. Or obviously, we need to start building a pipeline and identify it. Right now, it's an ambition, but I'm very, very enthusiastic and hopeful and confident actually that we're gonna get, if not reach it, we're gonna get extremely close. As I mentioned before, in the last 6 months since we really started talking and working with Aniket, he's already identified multiple projects, both in Kenya, but also Rwanda. He's looking at elements and at opportunities in Nigeria at the moment. So he has already started in a very short time without even having built a network properly. Already identified really hot leads, hot pipeline projects that I believe we can come to sign and make them become a reality in a very short span of time. So I wouldn't be surprised if we wouldn't be announcing multiple signings by the mid of this year. So for us, like, we are extremely excited. The entire company is really excited. It's a big step for us. It's a new continent. We are now present in all continents except Antarctica. Although I think that's a bit of a challenge, an even more challenging market, but who knows? We do already have an ice hotel in Scandinavia, so maybe we can, replicate it in the South Pole. In the long run, Africa, I'm sure if we get that growth that we are targeting and that we're aiming for, Africa is going to play a huge role. And not just for us to bring just more dots on the map, but we see it as an important destination, but also as a source market. There's more and more businesses coming out of Africa, supporting the African diaspora as well. There's a very strong connection in traveling back and forth, but there's also an immensely growing regional travel across African countries. So we're trying to really establish our commercial structure with LMR to not just bring, US travelers or European travelers to the safari lodges or something, but really try to build a recognizable brand portfolio that can drive business within Africa. So it's gonna be great for us. I'm sure of that.
Well, exciting times indeed for Choice Hotels International, and welcome to Africa. I look forward to seeing you in person at FHS Africa in Nairobi at the end of this month, and then chatting to you more about your plans for Africa. Thank you, Tobias. Thanks for taking time to chat to us, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, and we're excited to be in Africa now.